So we are starting season 2 of Smallville. This is episode 1.
Yep.
It's called Vortex, and this is, of course, see, Smallville used to always love ending on like proper cliffhangers, like, you know, proper to be continued moments. So we ended season 1 with, you know, Clark ran into a tornado to get Lana, who's in the truck, and also Jonathan was racing after Nixon, the reporter, who got some footage of Clark.
Yeah.
So that was kind of where we ended. And also Lionel was under some rubble, and Lex was deciding if he was going to save him or not, and that was a big cliffhanger.
I think on these sorts of cliffhangers, I like them in theory. Like, I respect the big ballsy, you know, all right, let's go for it. The problem is, it's always just the first 5 minutes of the next episode, and then it's over.
Yeah, I don't like these types of cliffhangers. I for me, like, I don't make a cliffhanger at the end of a season. I think to even just compare it to itself, I think season 4's cliffhanger is a perfect end of season cliffhanger. Whereas a cliffhanger, but it's also a nice, well-rounded. It's like the story ended, but it leaves you in this. Here's what's coming next. Yeah, right. And I'm saying that about Smallville, a show I don't like.
I don't actually recall what the end of season 4 was specifically.
I mean, I don't know if anyone cares about it. I'll just say snow.
Oh, okay.
That's a good end of season cliffhanger.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Right. This is just lots of actions are happening. This is basically come back next week, but it's not next week. It's, you know, September, October.
3 months later.
Yeah. So Jonathan gets trapped. Him and Nixon get trapped underneath this sort of like mobile home that gets like dropped on top of them from the tornado. And a lot of the episode is spent searching for Jonathan, and because the underground structure that they're in is got lead in its walls, Clark can't just use his X-ray vision. And we were commenting a lot as we were watching this, because this was one we watched together. Connor was getting drunk, and we were talking about how, you know, if he had super hearing, this episode would be over in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that comes in like. Is that this season or is that next season?
No, heat vision this season. Season 3 was the super hearing. Yeah,
because it's always like episode 2 or 3 as well. So I was like, I'm pretty sure it's next week. Yeah, but if it's heat vision next, isn't it?
Yeah. So
I distinctly remember that episode.
I recall it. Yes, I recall him getting horny for the teacher, and that's how he pops. So now here's this episode. Like, having not watched it in a few months and coming back to it, this episode was like, okay, it was reminding me why I hate Smallville. Mainly because every single time, like, and it's the Lex stuff specifically in this episode, where Lex is helping Clark look for his dad, and then Lex tries to phone Nixon, so Jonathan realizes that Nixon and Lex are involved with each other. Clark overhears the conversation as well on the other end, and he accuses Lex of being against him, and then we get entire scenes of Lex coming and explaining to Clark, like how
he wasn't really against him.
They wasn't really against him, yeah. And then the other one is, and this is something that happens a lot in Smallville, is that he comes and tells Clark about everything that happened with his father. You know, the whole, like, he was tempted to not save him from the rubble, but then he did. And he comes to Clark and he's like, you know, Clark, there was a moment there where I hesitated, where I really thought to myself, and I felt so guilty. And he's just explaining everything we already saw, and it's super frustrating.
Because there is a better scene on that topic right before it between Lex and Lionel. You know, with Lionel in the hospital bed, and Lionel's like, I saw what you did. I know you hesitated, you know, and I think that's a perfectly fine route to play that. You know, obviously they're telling us it, which I can forgive in some regards, because it's kind of the recap in, you know, okay, that happened 4 or 5 months ago for most people, so here's a bit of a recap if you forgot the moment. But also, it actually plays on the dynamic of the people who it mattered to.
The problem is that they tell us things too often and just straight up exposition. And then the second problem is that that seems, because Clark and Lex have these scenes all the time where Lex comes to Clark and tells him about something with his father, or something about the plan, or, you know, his love life, whatever's going on in his life, and it's very rarely ever actually something that affects Clark's plot or has any bearing on their relationship. It's just redundant information being regurgitated again, just for the idea that it's showing us that they're friends because they're telling each other things, but the actual scenes don't really serve much of a purpose in terms of advancing the story or telling us something about the characters that we don't already know. It's just really frustrating, and there's a lot of that in this episode. One of the drinking rules that we gave Connor for this is that anytime Clark and Lana claim they're just friends, or some variation thereof, he would have to drink. And it didn't actually happen in this episode.
But
there was a Chloe scene.
Yeah, there was the exact same thing, but with Chloe. I'm sorry, I'm actually just looking up if there's a Smallville drinking game.
Okay.
What have I got? See if I can steal some rules. Okay, some of these are too much because I'll be dead. Take a drink every time there is an allusion to Superman. Take a drink every time someone just wanders into Lex's castle.
Yep, I can see why that would be a thing.
Take two if it's someone who should by no means be able to do so.
Yeah, Lex has security, for goddamn it. I mean, he's a billionaire.
Yeah. Take a drink every time secrets are mentioned, hinted at, or kept from loved ones for their own good. You'll be wasted in no time.
Oh, God.
Specifically, you could take a sip every time Lana whines or lectures about someone, usually Clark, keeping secrets from her. Take another if she says something along the lines of secrets only keep people apart.
Oh my God, I hate this. Yeah, that's Smallville's everything that's wrong with TV writing. Like, absolutely everything. It's characters keeping things from each other to build the drama. Flash does this a reasonable amount, although Smallville makes it look like it's, restraint.
Yeah.
In comparison.
So I'm just looking. Some of these rules are just too like drink whenever Clark uses super speed. That doesn't need a drink.
No, because that's not a bad quality. Like the things we're making fun of are writing crutches that they're overusing. Him using his power is not a problem.
No, there's something for like drink when Ollie fires an arrow. I'm not gonna do that. That's what he's meant to be bloody doing.
Yeah, no, that's nonsense. Lana's such a frustrating character. Because Kristin,
by frustrating you mean terrible.
Because Kristin Kreuk is not a good actress. She cannot convey the emotions of a human being, and she just kind of has the same tone all the time when she's like talking. And here's the thing: so she comes later on, and because throughout the episode she's saved by Clark at the start and the tornado, and she's she's told that she didn't see that. Obviously, you were just delirious inside the tornado. And she goes to Clark in the barn. That's another drinking rule, probably. Zetium's like, there's a heart-to-heart in the barn.
That's every episode, guaranteed.
Yeah.
At the end. Like, absolutely every episode. She
comes in, and she's like, Clark, if there's something you want to tell me, you could tell me, right? If, what really happened, in the tornado. And he's like, no, that's exactly what happened. And I'm going to call this out a little bit, because I feel like I get that Clark's been raised by his parents to never tell anyone about, his powers and, that he's an alien and whatnot.
With good reason.
That's good reason. But here's the thing. I was a teenage boy. I've had crushes on girls.
Are you sure?
I'm positive of it.
I felt like you were fully formed as just a list maker at 20.
I just skipped over childhood. I wish, honestly, in a lot of ways. But... he's madly in love with Lana, to the point that when Chloe, he's trying to apologize to Chloe earlier on. So let's rewind a little bit to the Chloe scene. He's trying to apologize to Chloe, and Chloe says, it's okay, you're saving someone from a tornado, that gets you off the hook. Which, by the way, Clark, I feel like, maybe we should just keep our relationship as friends. And his eyes light up, and he's like, yeah, you're right, friends, that's a great idea. And she's actually disappointed because she was hoping that he'd fight her on it. And first of all, boys will say exactly the thing that you just told them you want to hear to keep you happy, right? They won't overthink it, so don't test him like this. He's too stupid for it. Don't do it. Most of us are too stupid for it. I'm serious. Don't do it, right? If you want a certain reaction, just say the thing that gets you that reaction. Don't test it by doing the opposite thing and hope for a fight.
You'll be disappointed.
You'll be disappointed because we'll back down. We'll back down because we think that's what you want, right? I'm admitting our flaws. I'm admitting flaws in the male side of the species. There's a lot of them, but I'm admitting one of them, right? Yeah. So she's upset about that, but Clark's like, yeah, just friends, because Lana's like, Whitney's away now, so Lana's available. Right? So go back to this scene. So here's what I'm calling out, is that he's so into Lana. Lana clearly is getting into him. She's to the point where Lana had a heart-to-heart with Martha earlier in the episode about being into Clark. It's because I'm glad you two are close, and she's like, yeah, I'm glad we're close too. You know, the implications are very, very there. Like, I don't buy that Clark wouldn't take this opportunity, because if he told her this, if he opened up to her and said, okay, I'm going to be honest, I have these abilities. Now, admittedly, I'm just realizing here as I'm saying this that, okay, the meteor shower that brought him to Earth did also kill her parents, and maybe that's also at play here. But
yeah.
But this would like score so many points. Like, I know it feels cold to put it in those terms, but like, she would feel so let into his inner world. Something that he's never told another living person. Right? The only people who know are the people who found him that he didn't tell. You know, they just know. He's never told someone this, and this would let her into his inner world in a way that no one ever. She would feel so special, assuming she doesn't run in horror of like, oh, you're an alien, right? Which is unlikely. It's unlikely at this point. Let's face it. People, at least people who already care about you, aren't that awful.
Usually, yeah.
Usually. Honestly, maybe this is just the way I think. But if I was in Clark's shoes, I'd be like, you know what? If I tell her this will bond us in a way that like no one could ever have bonded with her before. Whitney would never have had this relationship with her. This is something that I can let her in on that'll make us feel like special to each other, and she'll feel special. I'll feel like I can finally talk to someone, so it's good for me as well in that sense, but it's also good for her because she's not being lied to, and we're getting there.
I get what you're saying. I think the defense is genuinely he has never told anyone.
That's true.
It doesn't even cross his mind. It's not even like, oh, I'll tell her. She'll like me more if I tell her. He's not Barry Allen.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, she will like you more if you tell her. Just tell her, Clark.
Yeah, he ain't Barry Allen. He ain't whipping it out for anyone. He's genuinely like, at this point at least, it's no one knows.
And of course, and yeah, I'm just saying that it would actually be good for the relationship. But the show is like we said that the characters hide things from each other all the time. It's actually built upon this one fundamental one where we're supposed to accept that he's lying about this thing because it's a secret identity. But like they use it as a crutch so much for drama, like so often.
Yeah,
that it's really frustrating. But yeah, other than that, I laughed at the one super line this episode was when Clark called Martha, "You're like a super mum."
Yeah, it was terrible.
So I'm calling that out.
That was even worse than usual levels.
Yeah, Pete only exists so Chloe can cry and tell someone how she feels. That's the existence of Pete's character.
He has one scene.
Pretty much. Yeah, because we were calling the show out in this last year, they had nothing for Pete to do. Pete was just there to be the other person to talk to in scenes. That is his entire character. Yeah,
I think it does improve when he finds out about Clark, because at least then he's in on it, right?
That's probably why they did that. It's because we need something for him to do.
Yeah. So he's in on the adventures, kind of, so to speak. I think that helps a lot.
Yeah, he doesn't last very long though. After that, he leaves.
End of season 3.
Yeah, and he finds out this season, I think, maybe sometime
in
season 2.
So. I'm assuming it's season 2, but I'm not sure of that, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Do you know the worst part about it is that, like, whenever characters, I mean, not so much this show because I don't like this show, but in other shows where like characters don't know about the thing and then they eventually do, it kind of like takes away their safety excuse, the writers, where you're like, no, the show's actually better with them knowing. There's actually more fun than being in on it, and not to compare this crap to the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but like by the end of episode 1 of Buffy, the inner circle who needs to know who she is all know who she is.
I do, yeah.
And
I think this is a problem where, because it's supposed to be someone, they're like, no, secret identity, we have to play with that. So they feel compelled to make it a bigger deal than in Buffy, right?
Sure. But they go too far in the other direction where, like, yeah, give him Pete and Chloe as his Scooby Gang. Like, do something with it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
And
it's funny because I think there's, you said no, not to compare it to Buffy.
Yeah.
If I recall, next week it definitely has some parallels with some Buffy episode.
Does it?
I'm pretty sure it does. From what I remember, it felt like a lot like a really bad Buffy episode.
The Heat Vision. Are you thinking She Praying Mantis? Is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah, there's elements of that for sure.
Okay, yeah, okay, I can kind of see that.
Yeah. There's a few things in there.
I mean, let's be honest though. The pitch for this show was probably we're going to do Buffy, but it's Superman. Like that was.
Oh, certainly,
yeah, because it was on the WB as well. Like, that was the pitch. It was let's do Clark Kent in high school. It's basically a replacement for Buffy.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, so
which is a fine pitch.
It's a fine pitch.
Core.
It's just you wish it was better written.
Yeah. I'll just before we move on, I've skimmed the drinking rules.
Okay.
I'm gonna pick out a few of my favorites. Drink every time Lana and Clark whine about how they can't be together, and then a wanksty pop song starts playing. Drink every time Clark tells his parents, "I just want to be normal."
Sure.
Yeah. There was a.
This will murder you if you actually follow all of these.
I'm not doing all of these. Obviously, we'll make a selection. Drink every time someone discovers Clark's secrets, and then down the whole thing every time said person has their memory erased by the end of the episode. Drink every time Clark temporarily loses his powers. Finish your drink every time a human temporarily gains his powers.
I would argue that losing their memory should also be equal to the person dies by the end of the episode, because that's what happens in this one. Then Nixon gets killed by Lex.
Yeah, that's true.
When he's attacking Jonathan. He kills because Clark actually finds him at some point, and then Nixon puts some kryptonite in his pocket because he's just learned that kryptonite hurts him. Because of course there's kryptonite. We're going to keep track this season, so that's one episode out of one that's had random kryptonite be there.
This is drink when kryptonite appears. That we already had that one down.
Yeah, we had this one down. And then the other big thing of the episode is that Jonathan being tempted to kill Nixon to protect his son's secret. Now, he is definitely willing to die. He's willing for them both to stay down there and die to protect his secret. But it does establish that, he thought of, Clark, and that, he wouldn't be able to live with himself because it's not, it's not the right thing. So it's kind of the Superman lesson. It's like, you can't be a killer.
Yeah, no, this side of it is actually perfectly fine. Jonathan is willing to die, and he's like, you know what? No, I'm fine sitting down here to keep the secret. It's a better version of the Man of Steel moment.
Yeah, the tornado. Yeah, what's a tornado? It's even a tornado.
I know. But it genuinely is the same thing, and I think this is better because I think this Jonathan Kent sells it a bit more as he's still trying to get out if it comes to it, but he's willing to just go for it.
I'm reenacting the scene for people watching the video. I'm doing the GIF.
Yeah, I got it.
Just imagine a tornado behind me.
Oh, I wish.
Firefly, emulate a tornado. Wow. Oh dear.
Just imagine all three cats now kind of running in a circle around you.